What is up, health enthusiasts? It's Coach Lamby here for Working Weights LLC, your guide to strength, health, and all things nutrition. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Dwayne Ulrich, aka Poppy Dwirl.
What's going on, guys?
And today we're going to review a little debate over the lab-grown meat ban. All right, Dwayne. So I saw this short. It's about 15 minutes long. Get it on here. All right, so the lady's name is Crystal Ball. I've heard of her. I'm not really familiar.
I bet it. You just sprung that on me right now. I'm sorry. Crystal, I'm sorry. Whoa.
I'm not really sure her last name is Ball, but she goes by Crystal Ball.
Wow, you sprung that on me. I didn't see it coming, and it was like, what? What's up, Crystal?
Yeah, so Crystal and Sagar.
Yeah, that's what's up.
They debate the lab-grown meat ban.
Cool.
Grown meat.
Really built this puppy up, didn't we?
Let's put it up there on the screen. Florida, Ron DeSantis has banned lab-grown meat as other states weigh a ban. Quote, what's their beef with cultured meat? Good headline there from USA Today. Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law this bill which bans any, quote, cultivated meat because it is grown from animal stem cells. He says, take your fake lab-grown meat elsewhere. We're not.
So the ban is because it's grown from stem cells?
That seems to be the point. Yeah.
What okay. That's all right. Well, I wonder if this is available, because I don't think it's a law right now or anything. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, because it's banned because it's from stem cells. Like, I don't think that they ban stem cell injections or something like that.
I don't think there's a ban on it. No.
So that seems weird.
Doing that in the state of Florida. To be clear, the ban does not include things like impossible meat, which is made from plant-based ingredients and is meant to protect cattle ranchers and the integrity of American agriculture. Now, critics have
So it specifically is meant to
protect cattle growers,
to reduce the competition for the animal agriculture.
Yep, that's what it sounds like.
How does that even sound constitutional?
Well, it's funny. There's a lot of unconstitutional things going on right now, so maybe people just look past it.
I guess.
It's almost like a conversation where, maybe somebody doesn't want to accept new technology, or B, and not all new technology is good, but or B, there's like a hysteria about something, and then this just kind of jumps on board with that.
Yeah, I just don't see I don't see that as being a reasonable basis for to ban a product. Like, you're just banning it on hysteria. There's
well, I mean, it wouldn't be presented as hysteria. I mean, somebody's going to do a word salad. I mean, they didn't. Their state representatives didn't vote on this, did they? Or
I'm not really sure. I haven't looked that much into it, other than just a couple of articles and headlines.
Yeah.
But I guess it's banned. So I don't even.
Everybody stay in your houses. Those bats are out to kill us. Stay in your house.
Yeah.
Sky's falling.
Yeah, but this already doesn't bode well. Like, the ban is meant to reduce competition for cattle ranchers. That sounds to me like the government is deciding who is going to win and who is going to lose. And that I don't see how that's constitutional. Let's watch
Well,
some.
and plus, and hang on. Plus, there's also like, there's no medical point that they can make here. There's no medical data. There's nothing. There's no data
Yeah,
that would say that this
there's
is
no data to
bad
go on.
or anything like that. It's just, this is kind of the way it is. What you're going to do. So, yeah. Well, yeah.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
After Governor DeSantis saying that it goes against regulatory approvals that came in through the U.S. just a year ago. There's actually been a huge backlash, Crystal. You'll find funny to know amongst the technology community. There's a lot of venture capitalists in Florida who are very pissed off. They are calling this anti-science and anti-tech. However, there have been
I think I saw like Bezos invested in.
That's right. Bezos just invested a lot of money.
This is the point against me. I shouldn't have brought that up.
You shouldn't.
But
Jeff Bezos invested about $60 million in a lab-grown meat company. He has picked up, though, some interesting fellow travelers in the movement. Let's put this up there on the screen. John Fetterman has supported Ron DeSantis' lab-grown meat ban, saying, quote, "The fake meat is slop." And he says, "It pains me deeply to agree with crash and burn Ron, but I co-sign this." As a member.
So ban lab meat because slop, though. How? I don't understand.
So, I can't really, what, I guess what I'm trying. Okay, so I don't know. Are they ignorant to the process, or have they looked at the process? Or again, is it the hysteria? I mean, when somebody starts talking about it and it just becomes, oh, that's creepy. No, I'm not eating that. La, 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 la. I mean, I'll admit the first time that we talked about it, I was like, they're doing what? They're growing beef in a lab? What?
Yeah.
But when you look at the process and you understand what the science is, it's not rocket science. And again, there's no medical data that says that shows any ill effects or whatever, and it still has high nutrition in it. It's like, well, maybe it is just hysteria.
Yeah, and so that's the thing that's confusing for me is that there is no evidence to go on for these bans. So I know that like France has banned it. Maybe it's Italy, either France or Italy. They've put a ban on it preemptively, but they have always kind of been um more conservative towards traditional foods and traditional means of agriculture and food procurement. As far as the United States goes, though, this isn't even really available. We don't really have anything to go on other than I just don't feel good about it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
picture of health, both Fetterman and DeSantis.
Oh, okay. Now that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It says, as a member of Senate Agricultural Democrats and as some dude who would never serve that slop to my kids, I stand with American ranchers and farmers. So
Yeah, so I agree with him on the part about like it doesn't really matter what they look like, whether they both look like they're the image of health. I don't honestly, I don't think Ron DeSantis looks too bad. Fetterman doesn't look great, but he's,
Well, we don't know what he looks
stroke
like
or
because
something.
he always wears a hoodie, so we don't know what he looks like.
Yeah, so but he had a stroke or something recently.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
I'm
it's
like,
been
you can't count that against him. But yeah, like just because somebody doesn't look healthy doesn't mean that they can't know something. You don't have to have wooden teeth to know about George Washington.
yeah. Well, here's another thought. I mean, at what point are they going to ban? What point would make them ban vegan food?
Well, by all
Tofu? Oh my
metrics,
gosh, tofu is slop.
yeah. So yeah, that's the thing is it becomes this slippery slope is like where do these bans stop? Tofu, so right now the ban doesn't include things like Beyond Burger and Impossible Foods, but those are in direct competition with agriculture. Now they are not great competition, which may be the reason why they're not banned, which leads me to further question this support for agriculture. You know what I mean? Is like on one hand, we have plant-based meats and alternatives and stuff that some people just don't find it's to be that tasty. They're just not that appealing to many people. It's not going to really be a direct replacement for meat. And then on
Right.
the other hand, we actually do have a direct replacement. It actually is meat, and it
Right.
may very well be a highly competitive option for
Right.
animal agriculture. So, I don't like the looks of that.
I'm looking at an article right here. I'm just going to read the first couple of lines. For its detractors, it is an abomination, quote unquote, Franken meat. What does that sound like to you? Hysteria.
Hysteria.
It's
I mean,
it's
that's just an
hysteria.
appeal to nature. That's just an appeal to nature.
Right. Yep.
All right,
Mm.
let's watch some
This
more.
is
I
okay.
guess it's an interesting discussion which we wanted to have here about lab grown meat. So I will at least give my perspective and my advocacy for the bill. Now, I think it is a fair point just to preempt any criticism. Like, why wouldn't you say this about factory meat? I agree with you. I think factory meat is poison. I was telling you, U.S. meat is actually banned in 160 countries because of a lot of the additives that we.
Um, that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't.
And
I was going to say that too.
also, just because something is banned something somewhere else doesn't mean that it's unhealthy. Like the food coloring, there are more food colors that are banned in the United States than in Europe. So are
Yes.
the ones that are allowed in Europe healthy?
No. Nope. Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So we should not have lab grown meat because other countries ban our factory meat, though. Does that logically
No.
follow?
No.
No, it doesn't.
No. Those two things have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
There, many of the ways that we have our in our meat supply, Tyson's foods and all of this is repulsive and disgusting. And if you have the ability, I would genuinely urge you to not eat it and to try and either buy local meat, which is pasture raised, organic.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, so so even the conventionally grown cattle, chicken, pork, and all that stuff is local to someone.
Yep. Yep.
Just
Yep.
because it's not pasture raised doesn't mean it's
Yep.
local.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, I don't,
Doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's
sorry.
he's
Go
just
ahead.
he's just he's just jabbering. I think he's trying to make a point. I
This
don't
is
think it's, I don't
gibberish.
yeah, I don't think it's going to go well. It's like what just we were talking about making logical just doing a logical conversation or debate or
Mhm.
critical thinking about it just yeah, it's word salad at this point.
Yeah. And so just because he brought up this pasture raised meat thing, I think I already know which direction he's going.
Yeah.
This is just 100% going to be an appeal to nature. And then it's also probably going to divulge into some form of a straw man where he's going to
Yes.
misrepresent what lab grown meat is or the process of how it's made.
Yeah. My question for him would be, have you ever eaten Wagyu beef? I bet he has. And you want to ban really? How do you
Yeah.
think that's how do you think Wagyu beef is
Yeah.
derived? That's unhealthy. That's not natural. Go ahead. My bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even cattle itself isn't. You know what I mean? Like that, like the cows that we have are the process of man over many, many decades, centuries, whatever it may be, specifically breeding these animals for specific traits, right? We have different breeds of dairy cattle versus like black Angus. And the dairy cattle have been bred over time to overproduce milk so that we have a higher production of milk from those cattle, whereas something like an Angus cow, you're not going to get that amount of production. So, on the basis of
Yeah.
being natural, you already fail.
Yeah.
Who actually both treat animals well, harvest them sustainably and responsibly. I understand.
What does it mean to? I'm not going to touch it.
Okay.
That's it. Not everybody can afford it. That's part of the curse, though, has been factory and vertically integrated meat production here in the United States. Now, the reason I'm against lab-grown meat and
All right, this is the reason.
I'm waiting to break.
is I believe very strongly in a principle called the Lindy principle. This was by Nassim Taleb, and the idea is basically like the longer it's been around, the better it is. And
What?
The longer it's been around, the better it is. I wonder. I'm so glad that we did 4 weeks
I know,
on
right?
logic
I know.
and breaking this down, right? Learning about formalizing someone's argument and applying so this is where we start to apply a test of consistency on someone's thought process here, right? So I've never heard of this Lindy principle before. I'm familiar with Nassim Taleb. I like some of his stuff. So he wrote the book The Black Swan or something like that. So I'm not familiar with this principle, but the longer it's been around, the better it is. So that would mean that rape, murder, and genocide and slavery by this point in time right, like those things just keep getting better and better and better for us.
Can I just read this real quick?
Yeah.
So the Lindy effect, also called Lindy's law, is a theorized phenomenon by which future life expectancy of some non-perishable things like a technology or an idea is proportional to their current age. Thus, the Lindy effect proposes the longer a period something has survived to exist or be used in the present, the longer its remaining life expectancy. Longevity implies a resistance to change, obsolescence, or competition, and greater odds of continued existence into the future. Where the Lindy effect applies, mortality rate decreases with time. Mathematically, the Lindy effect corresponds to lifetimes following a Pareto probability distribution. The concept is named after, hold on, the concept is named after Lindy's Delicatessen in New York City, where the concept was informally theorized by comedians. Boom, mic drop.
Okay. Jeez.
It's not the Lindy effect. It doesn't even make sense.
People are going to go and repeat it, right? And that was the whole reason for that 4 weeks. Somebody's going to repeat this guy.
It doesn't
not
even
look up.
make sense.
Yes. So he's not even understanding that principle correctly. It's not that the longer something is around, the better it is for you. It's that the longer something exists, the less likely it is to not exist in the future. So the words mortality in there and all that stuff, as I was speaking, mortality and lifespan and all this, is referring to the thing itself. So like slavery or murder, those things that have been happening for a long time. So according to this principle, the amount of time that they have been happening increases the likelihood that the lifespan of murder and slavery will extend into the future. Not
Okay,
that human mortality or lifespan is going to increase because slavery has been around a long time.
Right, right.
So he doesn't even understand the principle by which he is applying.
Yeah.
He doesn't even understand.
Let me summarize it in a different way. People are resistant to change. People will always be resistant to change.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Boom.
That's exactly right.
deeply dystopian and terrible to me about the ideas of like the future technology companies like these tech guys, Jeff Bezos and others, not just owning land where food production actually happens, but synthesizing meat and then possibly, I mean, who knows what you're even going to put into it? I mean, just imagine, our current vegetables already.
Who knows what we know exactly what's being put into it.
Yeah.
None of that is being kept a secret.
Yeah. Look right to the right of the
process-
screen there. Look right to the right screen. Large scale lab grown meat. Step inside a cultivated meat factory. And here's how we make it.
They are completely transparent about the process, and we know exactly what they're putting into it because the process of making this stuff has received FDA approval.
Yes.
This guy is an idiot.
Yes.
Not even real vegetables. They're like genetically modified.
Not real. What does that even mean? Hold on a second.
Not even
meat, and then possibly, I mean, who knows what you're even going to put into it? I mean, just imagine, our current vegetables already are not even real vegetables. They're like genetically modified, and they have all this crap in them to make them.
Oh my gosh!
Freezer car on the way from Chicago or whatever.
Oh my gosh!
What? They're genetically modified. What does he think cows are? The free-range grass-fed cows that he's advocating for are genetically modified organisms. We have modified that species based on selective genetic traits. What
ladies
on
and
earth?
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Lamby is about to bust a gasket seal.
I'm about to lose my mind on this guy. This is what happens every time I go on social media and you hear this stuff.
He needs a rec permit.
All right, let's go. I need a rec. Inside joke.
Sorry.
To over here. And I just feel like the more that we do that, I understand.
Also, like just the fact that we have been able to modify the food within our food system to be more shelf stable and last longer, he finds to be bad. We've managed to decrease food waste, and he finds that to be bad. Okay, so we should not lab-grown meat should not be allowed because vegetables last longer than they did in the past.
Something we didn't cover over our last 4 weeks is it's one thing to hear something on social media or to read it on social media, but it's another thing to watch it. And so that's a whole different dynamic that we didn't even think about or talk about last time.
Yeah.
So up to this point, I guess just from my background, I watch body language and I watch so his whole talking hands is very convincing to the non-knowledgeable.
Yes. Yeah. It is a initially a convincing argument, and you're absolutely right. So I do see him curling his lip. So there is actually facial expression of disgust. And then to your point about, watching it or hearing it versus reading it. Yeah. And a lot of people are getting a lot of their information in these 30-second clips. They're called reels and stuff, and people will, put something out. It's very short. The message is sticky, right? So it sticks. When they throw it out, it sticks against your brain or, whatever. So yeah, there definitely is a difference there.
But just like a loogie, it's not all good.
Yeah. So this is supposed to be a debate here. So I want to hear the
her side.
Her side.
Better for feeding 8 billion people at scale. So I'm not going to criticize it, I guess.
But you are criticizing.
You are criticizing it. Oh my goodness.
Way, but I don't think it is healthy, and moving more in that industrialized food way, and it's also stripping away, the tradition and
appeal to tradition. Though. Appeal to tradition.
Appeal to tradition. Yep, that's it.
So far, this guy's entire epistemic premise by which he's, you know, rejecting lab-grown meat is based on logical fallacy.
Yes.
The benefactor of cattle ranching and trying to move to a pre-1960s food market, which I would like to see.
No, you don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't. What is the art? So, I mean,
No, you don't. No.
so
I wish I
mortality has decreased. So we are living longer now than we were in the 1960s. So everything this guy is saying, so he mentioned something about technology. I don't know where he is planning on going with that. So he's against, not that I'm for Jeff Bezos, don't anybody get me wrong here. But as technology progresses, like life expectancy has decreased proportionally to the advancements in technology. I'm sorry, life expectancy has increased.
Yes, I was going to say
Increased.
that's not right.
Mortality rates have decreased
Increased
proportionally
to
in relation
technology.
to technology, expansion of technology, the advancement of technology. So as we plot the advancement of technology, we also see the same curve happening in lifespan. So these are terrible arguments.
Of the measure.
Okay,
Anyway, with
so
all that upset.
yes,
Yeah.
so there. First, let's talk a little bit of background. The two things that are really driving this move to ban lab-grown meat, which, by the way, what this is that, I mean, not that I really understand the process, but they take some stem cells
Yes, exactly.
from an animal. The animal's not harmed, and then they're able to use amino acids to basically like grow actual meat.
That's fair, right?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No.
And then, you know, it's cells from an animal. So
Yep.
it's, you know, and then amino acids are amino acids. They are what they are.
Yep.
And at the end, you get animal meat.
Right.
Of these stem cells, which is extraordinary, right? And has potential, you can imagine the potential massive benefits, because the meat that we consume, as Sagar is accurately pointing out, is actually really terrible. And industrial factory farming is also.
I don't know that the meat that we have is terrible.
I think she is presenting that in terms of how we got it or how we arrive at
You think she's
industrialized
making
food.
she thinks she's making an ethical argument?
I think she's making an ethical argument
Okay.
for how it's terrible how the treatment of the animals and so forth and so on. I don't think she's saying that it's terrible. She just didn't do a good job of it. I don't think she's saying that it's terrible because of like quantity or nutritional value. Although some people will make that argument about, you know, about beef, cholesterol, you know, heart disease, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that's where she's going. I think it's ethical. Let's see what she says.
Horrifying and is bad, obviously, for the animals, but it's also bad for people. You have this mass.
All right, I'm going to rewind it just a few seconds here.
Because the meat that we consume, as Sagar is accurately pointing out, is actually really terrible. And industrial factory farming is also really horrifying and is bad, obviously, for the animals, but it's also bad for people. You have this massive use of antibiotics, which has led to, you know, straight antibiotic resistant strains of infections, and that being a problem. You have even like right now, there's a bird flu situation that comes directly out of the result of the way that these factory farms operate and the close integration with humans and these factory farms, which are disgusting dystopian places. These animals are tortured from birth until the time that they are slaughtered. It's horrifying, horrifying.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So she's
It's
making
more ethical.
Yeah, so I think she's making both sides. So there's an ethical aspect, and then she's also talking about the health of it. And then, you know, I'm a little bit biased on the ethical side of that, so I'm not going to touch it.
I think she's building on the side of the lab grown meats though, because that's going to be it is a solution to a lot of what's happening in
Yeah.
large factoried, that's not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
word,
Yeah.
industrialized beef growth. And I think
Yeah.
that's what she's going. And that's one of the
Well,
things we talk
and
about is
chicken and pork and fish,
absolutely.
you know.
I just picked beef out of the air,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but that's one of the things that we've actually talked about that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
going into vegan food. Uh, um, it's not meat, that kind of those kind of products,
Well, so
because
the lab grown meat would be vegan because
yes,
it doesn't entail animal suffering, and then some sects of veganism, what's the word, exploitation of animals. So
right.
they are concerned with the exploitation of animals. So
Right, but another thing is in that exploitation of animals, you're not going to see the extensive use of growth hormones,
yeah.
of antibiotics, about
Yeah, yeah.
testosterone levels. A lot of that stuff's not needed in the lab grown meat.
Yeah, I don't know how you can make the argument like um against conventionally grown meats. So choose pasture raised meats because they don't have all this stuff in them. But even pasture raised animals are exposed to pesticides and herbicides. They still receive vaccines. When they get sick, they still receive medications. You know what I mean? You're still going to be exposed to antibiotics. You probably are going to see far, far less hormones or whatever and antibiotics from that. But when you come out to lab grown meat, like all of that is going to be eliminated because the process is so controlled.
Mhm.
You're only dealing with the purest forms of the stem cells and the amino acids and the glucose and the fatty acids that go into it. You're not exposing it to this, all of the dirt and germs and viruses and everything that are else there in the world.
Right.
Situation. And that's before you even get into the climate impact. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, as I was beginning to say, the reason this is happening now is not because Ron DeSantis is deeply concerned about the quality of the food that our children consume. It's because, number one, there's a lot of money in the factory farming industry that is concerned about this. And number two,
Yeah, man. I mean, the cattle industry alone is $1 billion of industry. You have lobbyists and all that stuff. What happens when that share of money decreases?
Republicans have made it into this like culture war thing where it's like, and even DeSantis says in his bill, like the World Economic Forum elites want us to eat fake meat and bugs, and who cares about climate change, etc. So it's this culture war ish.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say this, and I'm not going to go deep off into it, but I find it kind of offensive that she just hangs this on the Republicans. I don't know if y'all caught that line, but the Republicans want, yeah, yeah, I don't think so. I think that's unfair to just generalize that and dump that all off on the Republicans.
Yeah, both sides have their interests and biases.
Hmm.
Um,
Believe me, there are food industries
it's two
on
sides of
both
the same
sides.
coin out there
Absolutely.
in Washington.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah. So to the point where it's like, is the ban because Ron DeSantis is seriously concerned about? Uh, I'm not seeing that. From what Sagar said earlier, and from what you and I have seen so far, this really just seems to be in support of animal agriculture, of the farmers and ranchers and stuff.
Right.
So it doesn't actually seem to interact with human health at all.
Right.
It
Not at
just
all.
seems to be about commodities and which one he prefers.
Yeah, they haven't said anything about nutrition or, yeah, they haven't said anything about
Yeah,
that.
so and she's saying Republicans, but I mean this is endorsed by Fetterman. I'm sure that there are other Democrats who are probably
Oh,
feel the
absolutely.
same way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That has the benefit of also overlapping with a lot of big money interests. Fetterman, I think, picking it up likely given the demonstrated level of corruption and how influenced he is by money that is given or withheld from his campaign. I think it's very.
Wow, really?
Interesting.
Did she just go there?
Yeah.
Like none of these other people are influenced by the
Yeah.
holy moly. I don't
I
want to, I'm not going to touch that.
yeah, I don't think these are good arguments,
Mm-mm.
pro for the pro
Mm-mm.
side of this.
Mm-mm.
It just seems to be a little bit speculative and conspiratorial.
Yeah.
Reasonable to assume that may be a factor for him as well. But yeah, it's not like the rest of our food system is so pristine that it makes any sense to single out this one potential innovation. And then the other thing to say is this is a long way from coming to fruition.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Right. It's
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's
Oh,
not even
oh,
available.
oh, wait, now he, oh, yeah, oh, that's definitely true. It's a long way.
Yeah. Well, at least they agree on something.
I don't even see
very
that they've debated yet. So
Yeah,
go
I'm
ahead.
looking for a debate here.
Yeah,
in
go
the
on.
development. So, I think we talked the other day, I think it was me and Emily, you were out about Lunchables. Like, to me, things like that are probably a much bigger problem than lab grown meat, which has all of the.
It was me and
Why?
Emily. It was me and
Why?
Emily.
Yeah.
Emily and I. Emily
Emily
and
and I.
I.
That's true. Why are Lunchables a bigger concern?
Well, I don't know. Did you do much research into the Lunchable thing? Just the amount of sodium that's in that alone is astronomical compared to other foods.
Oh, well, yeah, a lot of stuff is high in sodium, though. I mean, with a processed food is going to come a high amount of sodium. It doesn't have to be there, but
Yeah,
that just seems to be one thing.
yeah.
But um, if I give my child a Lunchable once every 2 or 3 weeks, is that bad? Like,
I don't think. Yeah, no. And
so
but
so what she's talking about is the way people consume foods. It's not
yes,
necessarily that the food, and I know that there was something recently that came out about Lunchables, and they had a high amount of, I don't know, some heavy metal or something maybe in there.
yes.
Um, but uh, I didn't look a
Lithium.
whole bunch into lithium.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was lithium. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah,
So
yeah.
so there's no recalls on them.
Right.
And you haven't seen anything um, produced by the FDA or the CDC on these Lunchables. So I saw something else online related to this, which was canned corn. So Walmart has their Great Value brand, and some lady had like an older can and versus a newer can, and certain things on the label had changed, and something that was added to the new label was a Prop 65 warning. Prop 65 is that label that you get from California. This is known to contain whatever, which is a known carcinogen in the state of California, which is that label is just a CYA.
Yeah.
That's all it
Yeah.
is. But it
Yeah.
had to do with lead. And so this lady was trying to make the case that the corn now has lead in it. It's like, well, the other corn probably has lead in it. People are always shocked and amazed to find that these heavy metals and stuff are in the ground and are being absorbed by plants and would therefore make it into the food supply. So this canned corn, probably has lead in it. You know what else it has in it? Magnesium, iron, selenium. It has all the other heavy metals too, because the stuff is in the ground,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
even though they found lithium in the Lunchables, at what level did they find it? Is it a level that is going to be of human concern? Since we haven't heard anything about it from regulating bodies, my guess is that it's probably an amount that's so small it doesn't have an effect on human health.
It might. Hang on. I'm going to make sure that's right. Metals. You could go ahead and play.
Indications of being just basically like meat. So to have a hard ban on this, it's more culture war signaling than it is actual concern for anybody's health. Because if you're concerned for anybody's health, you have a lot more critiques of our food system than you have.
Sure, but I mean, take where you can get, right? I mean, to me, lab-grown meat is the epitome of the Jurassic Park meme. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Hey,
We
before you
should-
laugh, before
Okay,
you say
go ahead.
anything, so it wasn't lithium, it's lead and cadmium. My bad. Go ahead. In the Lunchable.
Yeah, lead and cadmium are in the
Yes.
soil
In
and
the
they are
soil.
absorbed by plants. You are going
Yes.
to find lead
Yes,
and
absolutely.
cadmium in almost everything you eat.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we should not have lab-grown meat because Jurassic Park, though. Is this guy for real?
Life will find a way.
Oh my gosh.
And the idea, look, as we have seen with a lot of the regenerative farming movement and others.
So, okay, so he has this issue creating in a lab, and then scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they should, they didn't stop to think if they could. So I know a a couple people who have a wonderful, beautiful family. They have two kids, a little girl, and she's 9 or 10 years old now. They had a whole lot of trouble um, getting pregnant. And this little girl is the process of IVF, in vitro
Right.
fertilization.
Right.
So I wonder, so this is where formalizing arguments and seeing if you apply these things consistently, right? So under his own standards here, I would like to know what his thoughts are on IVF. Should this little girl not exist, or is she less human because the process to conceive was through IVF? And if people don't know, IVF is where they take an egg from the mother and the sperm from the father, and they fertilize that stuff in a test tube.
A lab. Yeah, in a lab.
Yeah. That's how that process happens. So are these people who are the process of IVF less human, or should they not exist? Is that something we should not have? You know what I mean? I wonder if he's consistent on that stance.
Out there, you can actually minimize a lot of the climate impact. You can actually raise animals sustainably. You can have much healthier meat, and you can even buy directly from the source. One of the amazing things about the internet is you can buy meat online today, and you can get it shipped to your house from UPS. You're going to pay maybe 15% more than you would buy at the grocery store.
So I don't understand this. I'm not sure what argument he's making here. If it's he doesn't like conventionally raised animals, so he wants these more regenerative or sustainable, which that has not been demonstrated to be very in regards to emissions and its impact on climate and all stuff. That has not been shown to be it's not demonstrated to be that much better. It actually requires far more land than conventional use. And I guess just by having less cattle or less animals, because there's more land required per animal, you're raising less animals, the emissions from the animals would be less. I could see that. But then he's saying choose that one because there are less animals creating less emissions, but then create more emissions by ordering it online and having it trucked from wherever, New Jersey to Oklahoma or Oklahoma to New Jersey, and create more emissions that way. Like that doesn't make any sense. And then we're talking about a process of creating meat that probably once it's up and going, probably could reduce the cost of meat. Meat is one of the most expensive things in the grocery store. And worldwide, you know what I mean? Like getting meat to people worldwide, particularly in poor countries, they don't get a lot of meat. They get a lot of rice and they get a lot of grains that we send a lot of soy, corn, rice, all that stuff, but they don't get a lot of meat because it's expensive. So he's making the case like, well, we should make meat more expensive and we should not only have fewer of these animals, which is going to make it more expensive, but then we increase emissions by transporting that. Like that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Nope. Nope.
Totally understand. A huge portion of the public cannot afford that. So I am not saying that it is anywhere where it needs to be. But imagine if those people got the same federal subsidies that Tyson's Foods and Purdue Farm and all.
Those people do get the same subsidies. What is he talking about? I don't think any of them should be getting any subsidies.
Absolutely.
Let the consumers drive the demand for it. And if people knew just how expensive stuff would be if it wasn't subsidized.
Yep. Exactly.
Other people are getting. I mean, that's a totally different type of food system, which we could get to pro technology in the way that people could still get access to, or even better, buy something locally, which is properly raised. So,
oh my gosh, what is properly right? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I'm going to try and stay away from the ethical side of the thing because, I, of course, have my biases on. But, yeah, so this pasture raised thing. So I live in pasture raised cattle country. They're all over the place. And this is particularly the ideal setting that people talk about when they talk about free range, grass fed, pasture raised cows. Is these cows up here in the mountain just feeding off of the grasses in the mountain pastures, the natural grasses that are growing wild. Nobody went out there and planted grass. This is the stuff that grows. There's cattle. It's all over the place out here. I see it everywhere I drive. There are not enough free range pasture grazing cattle to feed the population of the local towns here.
That's true.
What on earth is he talking about? There is no way that you could feed the population of Show Low, Arizona, Lakeside, Pine Top, and the few surrounding areas with the amount of cattle that we have. You couldn't do it.
Nope.
I would just say this lab grown direction is one where, look, there's something both in terms of the playing God, but second, I just really believe, and we're going to talk, we have a.
What do you mean playing God? What is he talking about?
I don't know. That's crazy. I don't.
It's not like we're trying to create life. It's not like we're cloning a sheep. What is he talking about? What is he talking about?
Later,
let there be me
posting later on about Ozempic, and there is this idea of hubris where we seem to believe that we can just synthesize amino acids and that
we can just synthesize amino acids. What is he talking about?
I don't know. We do synthesize
something intangible over hundreds of millions or tens of millions of years of evolution of an animal being grown from birth to wherever it is, and then us eating that animal protein that can just be synthesized through a tube. And
it can't, so first of all, the animals you're eating now are not the animals that you were eating 20,000 years ago, if you believe that. And second of all, yes, we can do that. I don't, what is he, like they are doing it. What is he talking about?
Into something that we're going to eat and is going to give us all the nutrients that we could ever possibly want.
Yes, it will give us all the nutrients. The same amount, it's literally the same as the nutrients you're getting from the animal. It is exactly the same stuff.
There's no, history of
I'm going to lose my mind on this guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can listen to the whole thing, honestly. I just
science that shows you that, like Western medicine itself right now, if you were to ask me how to fix a bone, they know how to do that, but they don't know what makes us tick. That's
what?
No, like people can die and we can actually perform life-saving intervention and bring them, like their heart can stop and we can get it beating again. What is this guy talking about? What is he going on?
Oh, man, I have no idea.
If we break a bone and
solved depression, or why you can't just take vitamins instead of eating vegetables. If it was that easy, then it would already have been done. So
what on earth? You can just take
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could see Coach right, there's steam and smoke coming from his ears.
Wow.
Uh,
My
wow.
goodness. Okay, so let me just put this together. So this guy is complaining about both of them, as a matter of fact, are complaining about people eating processed foods,
Mhm.
which are fortified with vitamins and minerals because the
Ooh.
manufacturing process that goes through taking the raw materials to the end usually destroys a lot of the nutrition that is held within it. So what they do is then they fortify it with vitamins and minerals. There are people who do not consume fruits and vegetables and go on to live into their 80s. What is this guy talking about?
Bro, I just got to throw something out there. So, Sagar, he grew up in College Station, where his parents were both professors at Texas A&M. He graduated from George Washington University in 2014, where he majored in economics. In 2018, he received a master's in security policy from Georgetown.
What is security policy?
I have no idea, but he is obviously not well versed in chemistry, nutrition,
Oh, he's,
or
yeah,
health.
for sure. How much
Yeah.
more of this do we have? Oh my
I'll
goodness.
just I'm dying here, dude. Honestly,
All
I'm
right.
dying here. And she got her degree is in economics. Just saying.
So the two people debating who should not be debating.
Yeah, they're not even in they're like, you know, if a couple of members of the Bluey family are talking, that's
Yeah.
basically
All
it's
right. Let's let this
basically the same.
let this play out here. Let
All
me see.
right.
Hold on. Play speed. Let's bump this up. Get through
Okay.
this.
Yeah, yeah. I'll try not talk.
Pass the Lindy test at all, and I think we should say that always.
I mean,
The Lindy test, the one that he doesn't even understand.
Right.
it's just basically like I assume all technology is bad.
Not all, but a lot.
And it's very dissonant.
Yeah.
And again, lifespan has been proportionally increasing with the advancement of technology.
With other technological like embrace of Apple Vision Pro and other things that you're very
enhancing human life.
and also it's very dissonant also with your your view that we don't really need to worry about climate change because science is going to solve it. Well, this is one area. I mean, what it's like 25% of carbon emissions come from food delivery. It's very high. So okay, this is part of science.
Yeah, I don't know that 25% of it. I haven't seen that.
Comes from where?
So she's saying the food industry itself produces 25% of emissions. I'm not sure that that's correct.
I'm pretty confident it's not.
I think it's closer to 13.
Yeah.
Solving the climate change crisis and making it so that we don't have to make some of the more dire trade-offs that some of us fear that ultimately we'll have to make. So listen, study it, make sure it's safe, but to just have no evidence that it's a problem and be like, I'm going to ban it because I want to own the World Economic Forum elites, it's just silly. It's just silly. And like I said,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, it is a good point.
Yeah.
it's so different than the way the entire rest of the food system is viewed. It's just this sort of like based on nothing reactionary view that I believe based on nothing, this is going to be a problem. When, it's nice that you can get like your organic, whatever, small ranch raised beef, etc. 99%, that's the stat.
I agree.
Of animals consumed for food production are factory farms. And it's horrible. It's horrible for the animals. It's horrible for human beings. But I don't see Ron DeSantis or John Fetterman upset about that. Of course.
I see again this I don't know that you can make the case that factory farming or conventionally grown meat is horrible for human beings. I think that she's talking about the health aspect of it.
I don't know anymore. I'm not sure.
I mean by definition it would be health promoting. It's just when it's consumed in excess becomes the problem.
Yeah. She's all over the map.
That's where they're getting the money.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
She's all over the map.
Yeah, she has some salient points. Some of the other ones are not very good.
That is being used to drive this position, and then also this just like culture war virtue thing.
I don't disagree. I think there's also, look, I understand the whole World Economic Forum thing, but really what they are saying, let's say the best faith version of it is basically in a lab grown system. What does it mean? It means you have to go to a company in order to buy your meat. You can never actually be fully sustainable or harvest something if you wanted to yourself.
Why?
Well, okay, because
people can still their own cow. They can still buy their meat.
what if they?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like you can still grow your own food. What is he talking about? You have to go to a company. You have to go to the grocery store to get it. What is he talking about? He doesn't have cows in his backyard? He
No,
just
he
said
doesn't.
he orders his, or you could order your stuff and have it trucked to you. What is he?
I don't know. Again, whenever you throw out there, I'm on board with WHO. You already concern me.
Okay, well, then you take a stand against that.
Yeah.
But instead of saying, hey, let's study it and see, and actually maybe this is healthier for people. Maybe this reduces the cost of meat so that people can have more whole foods versus the Lunchables crap that they're eating now. Rather than that, you're just like, let's ban it before we even know.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the possibility exists. Like, I don't think animal agriculture would go away completely just because we introduce lab-grown meat. There are certainly people who are still gonna purchase that, and for the reasons that they're talking about. They find the lab-grown meat to be icky or whatever. But this could be a way to make it an easier or make it easier and more affordable for more people to purchase whole foods.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing that it is a culture-based argument.
Yeah.
I'm only telling you where it comes from. Skepticism, again, for me, it doesn't pass the Lindy test literally out. The idea that you can just grow something in a lab and that's going to replace it. If it were true, then vitamins would have replaced all of vegetables. But all medical science would tell.
Vitamins basically have replaced vegetables. People
Yep.
are just not eating vegetable. You can't get people to eat vegetables.
That a vitamin is not a direct, is not a direct substitute. Now, could it get there? Maybe, but they've been trying, for what, 40, 50 years? So in this case, maybe they will get there, but it does seem like it makes me uncomfortable. The idea that these people are trying to consolidate the food system such that
The food system is already consolidated.
Yeah, but we
That's part of the
have
problem.
we have some level of self-exit right now. I'm saying, what if we get to the point where you have a total control of the food system there? Which if you think that there are.
So this is called the slippery slope fallacy,
That's right. That's right.
right?
Good call. Absolutely.
Actually competitor to the consolidated food system.
but
That's why there's a reaction against it from the political class because of these monopolists who want to be able to continue their factory farming with no alternative and have consolidated the marketplace. That's exactly the problem. They don't want a competitor.
Well, but they don't. The competitors who are coming in are Jeff Bezos and the Facebook and the VC guys who I see tweeting about this.
So what? Why does it matter who the competitor is?
Instagram or on Twitter, who are multi-billionaires or have funds themselves. It's like Facebook taking over
The cattle barons aren't billionaires? What is he talking about?
monopoly of newspapers. Like, did we win? I mean, that's competition, not necessarily good competition. Like, is the new boss really as good as the old boss, or is it just basically the exact same type of boss that we have here? Now, again, is DeSantis corrupt? Do they really care about the food system? No, because they're from the top sugar-producing state in the whole country. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm not saying that it's not.
Well, I don't think you can say he's corrupt. I don't think you can make a good case that he's corrupt.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't even make a call on that. You don't know
Or
him.
Fetterman. I don't know what she was talking about with his campaign stuff. I don't know that you can't say that they're corrupt on that basis.
If we could ban sugar, we'd probably be better off doing that than we would with lab-grown meat or any of this other stuff. We could go after the agricultural subsidies and Purdue and Tyson's and all these other companies, like Lunchables, which I don't even know, that doesn't even qualify in my head as meat, or hot dogs, or so many of these other things with all these disgusting additives and things like that.
Yeah, hot dogs are a great point, actually.
Yeah, no.
People are fine with hot dogs. You worry about this? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Look,
By the way, I eat
I'm
hot
not
dogs.
fine hot dogs, and I don't eat any. Period. I'm not putting that poison in my body.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you actually
Poison. It's
Bro, I don't
not
even want to know.
poison. Come on, man.
I don't even want to know the foods you ate when you were growing up, bro. I'm sorry. I don't want to know.
care about the food system, I think you would do a lot more good rather than banning something that hasn't even really been developed yet. You do a lot more good just like killing the corn subsidies and the sugar subsidies and putting those subsidies instead towards whole foods, vegetables, meat, etc. But for some reason, political class not interested.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
We were just trying to zoom out a little bit.
Hey guys, if you like that video, better.
All right, I think that's it. All right. What a train wreck that was.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah. Okay. So
That was painful.
that was a little bit painful. All right. So that ended up being a demonstration in
Slippery slope fallacy.
yeah, how to look for logical fallacies, how to apply epistemic consistency. So this, in not meaning to, but this actually is just carrying on from our last 4 episodes. I was really hoping for a more substantive debate here. I just don't think that there can be one because the case, so like Crystal was saying, the case against it is based on nothing. It's just based on your feelings and emotions.
Right.
or your support specifically for the animal agriculture industry.
Right. Right.
There can't be a claim to health made here because there's nothing to go on. Yeah, and then if you break it down just into the process and just what goes into it, like I don't really feel like you have a leg to stand on in that aspect of it. So, all right. Well, this was a good time. People got to see a different side of me. This is how I am when I'm on social media in my house. This is what my wife has to deal with.
Oh,
Yeah, so there was one point that he made about the competitors are Jeff Bezos and whoever he's talking about. And not that I care for Jeff Bezos, or who's the other guy, the Windows guy.
oh, oh man, just paper locked.
Put it in the comments,
Classes,
folks. Yes,
classes.
glasses, a little bit on the pudgier side. Anywho, that guy. So I've actually pushed back against some some vegans online when they've posted some things about like, so there's some sect of vegans who don't buy organic produce because they use manure and the manure
Gates,
comes
Bill
from
Gates,
animals.
Bill
Bill
Gates.
Gates. Yeah. And so because you use manure, and so if you purchase the organic produce, then you are paying for the manure, which goes back to the animal, the people raising the animals. And so I don't find that to be a very salient argument against buying organic produce, because it's like, they're saying, well, you're inadvertently paying these people. And so the aspect is, well, I don't want my money to go to these people, right? And so, but it's like, but if that person tomorrow started funding or investing in lab grown meat and producing lab grown meat, while simultaneously still being a producer of animal agriculture, would you purchase the lab grown meat? And people will often reply, yes, I would purchase the lab grown meat because it's reducing the amount of suffering from animals, right? There are less animals having to go into the food supply. And so it's like, okay, well, then you obviously don't care who your money goes to, right? So your
Right.
argument for don't buy organic produce because animal manure falls apart on that basis. And from the other side of that, so this is something that I've been dealing with on my own terms, is like we think about these byproducts. So there's a lot of vegans. So it's like crap, I keep forgetting the word. The exploitation of animals. So they don't buy leather products. They won't buy, organic produce that's raised in manure. They won't buy these um, uh, byproducts from the animal ag. And it's like, I don't see that as being a very salient argument either, because it's not like if the meat industry fell out the bottom tomorrow and no one is buying meat, would we still continue to raise animals for these byproducts? Like the only reason we have manure to fertilize the field is because the drive for meat, because people purchase meat. That's just a byproduct of the meat industry. And the only reason that we have leather goods, right? So if people stopped buying meat, would we continue to raise animals to produce leather? Like, I don't, probably not. It's too expensive, right? And the what you would have to sell leather gloves for in order to make a return on what it costs to raise that animal would be far too expensive. People would stop buying leather gloves at that point. It would be cost prohibitive. So there's a lot of arguments that I don't find to be good on that side of it. And that's, directly relating to the competition is Jeff Bezos. And it's like, well, so what? What if Jeff Bezos bought a ranch and started, right? Mark Zuckerberg is raising cattle now in whatever, Costa Rica, I don't know, wherever. What if Mark Zuckerberg starts investing in lab grown meat? Is he suddenly now going to be a problem? That argument doesn't hold up.
Nope, not at all.
All right. Well, good times here, folks.
Good times.
My mind was blown by how dumb his arguments were. That unfortunately is the whole reason why we did those episodes. Stop repeating. And again, someone is going to repeat that, guy. Someone is going to listen to that conversation and they're going to repeat his arguments, the Lindy test, right? He doesn't even understand that test, but someone is going to repeat that going forward, and they're not going to know anything about. They're not going to look it up the way that you did to find out that he's misunderstanding it or misrepresenting it. So that's not going to happen. So that's the whole reason why we did all that stuff. So this ended up just being a good demonstration of why all that stuff is important.
It's a good episode. Good episode.
All right. So hope you guys get something from it. Next week, we have a special guest coming on. I'm not going to ruin any surprises because I know that there are a couple people who will be excited to hear from this individual. And we will see you guys next time. Coach Lamby and Dwayne out.
See you guys.